When my parents said it, they made it sound reasonable. It's just not the right time. My mother told me over the phone, her voice careful, already moving towards something else. This year's a lot. Let's try again when things settle. I didn't ask what things. I didn't point out that Christmas shows up on the calendar with a kind of reliability that makes, not the right time, feels suspicious. I just said, okay, and went back to cutting construction paper snowflakes with my kids at the kitchen table. I translated it for them the way I always did, without bitterness, without details they didn't need to carry. We'll have our own Christmas this year, I said. Different can still be good. They accepted that easily. Children do. When you don't teach them to beg for inclusion, the gifts were already bought, wrapped, labeled. I dropped them off earlier that week, before the phone call. My parents had thanked me, briefly. The boxes sat under their tree, the same tree I'd grown up with, now visible only in my head. 2 days later, my sister sent a picture to the family chat. Her smile was wide, effortless. Behind her, my parents' living room was full, crowded couches, mugs in hands, a dog sprawled across the rug like it belonged there. Someone I didn't recognize leaned against the doorway. The caption read, "Spontaneous Christmas brunch." I stared at the photo longer than I meant to. I zoomed in, then out. I counted people, then stopped myself for doing it. I noticed the dog bowl by the wall. I noticed the space where my kids usually sat on the floor, building things out of wrapping paper. So this was the right time. I didn't respond in the chat. I didn't ask questions. I didn't send a single word. I walked to the closet, pulled out the bag with the receipt copies I'd kept out of habit, and laid them on the bed. The gifts were practical things my parents had asked for. Not flashy, thoughtful, expensive enough to matter. I took one photo, just the receipts, fanned out, no commentary. Then I sent it to my mother and father together with a single line. "These won't be needed anymore." That was it. 10 minutes later, my phone started ringing. I didn't answer the first call, or the second, or the 10th. The screen filled with my mother's name, over and over, like persistence might turn into permission. By the 20th call, I turned the phone face down. The house was quiet. My kids were watching a movie in the living room, laughing at something I couldn't hear clearly. I stood in the kitchen and felt the old reflex tug at me, the urge to fix this, to explain, to soften the edges before anyone had to feel uncomfortable. I didn't. The doorbell rang an hour later. It was my father. He stood on the porch with his coat half zipped, hair flattened by the cold. He looked older than I remembered from a week ago. Not angry, uneasy. Like someone who had arrived without knowing what they were supposed to say. "Can we talk?" he asked. I opened the door wider but didn't step aside. The warmth of the house stayed behind me. "What do you want to talk about?" I asked. He glanced past me, toward the sound of my kids' laughter. Then back at me. "Your mother's upset," he said. "I know," I said. "You didn't have to do that," he added. "The message." I shrugged. "I didn't have to come either." He sighed, the way he always did when he thought I was being difficult instead of precise. "Things just came together last minute." "It wasn't planned." I nodded. "Neither were my kids." That landed. I could tell by the way his jaw tightened, not defensively, but with something closer to recognition. "They're not family," he said, gesturing vaguely, meaning the people in the photo. I didn't raise my voice. "Then why were they easier to invite?" Silence stretched between us. The porch light hummed. "You're making this bigger than it is," he said finally. I shook my head. "I'm making it exactly as big as it is." He looked down at his shoes. "Your mother feels punished." "I didn't punish anyone." I said. I adjusted. He waited like there might be more. "There's a difference," I added. "One is about control. The other is about boundaries." My phone buzzed again in my pocket. I didn't look. "What do you want us to do?" he asked. I thought about that. About how often that question had been asked only after consequences arrived. "I want my kids to know they belong," I said, "everywhere we go, or nowhere at all." He nodded slowly, like he was filing that away for later, maybe to be misunderstood. "I'll talk to your mother," he said. "Okay," I replied. He hesitated, then stepped back from the door. "Christmas won't feel right without you." I met his eyes. It didn't feel right with us being excluded. After he left, I locked the door and leaned against it for a moment, breathing out something I hadn't realized I was holding. I didn't unblock the calls that night, or the next day. We had our own Christmas, pancakes for dinner, paper crowns, too many cookies. The kids didn't ask about my parents. They were busy being where they were wanted. I don't know what happens next. Maybe we talk. Maybe we don't. Maybe things change in small, uncomfortable ways. What I do know is this: Favoring outsiders over your own family always costs something. This time, it cost them access. And for once, I didn't rush to pay it back.